name is Marty West, and we are Sunday Assembly. We are a humanist congregation that celebrates life. And that's the simple answer to it. We are just here to enjoy life together and help make each other's lives better. Would you advance that slide, please? There we go. Our motto is to live better, help often, and wonder more. Live better, help each other with life, learn things, help often. We team up with the congregation here to do some events, and to wonder more is to be curious about life. Thank you. This is what we're going to do today. We have our gathering statement. We have the address by the Association for the Assembly President. We'll have a reading, a moment of wonder. We have a speaker today who came all the way from Canada, from a foreign country, so we're a speaker.
The border doesn't look like
It's still a foreign country?
this is a incident about, so.
Okay. We'll do some Q&A with Mel afterwards. Whatever business announcements we have for the events coming up, and then we will break for lunch. So that is our day. The gathering statement. This is the reason we gather. We gather this morning to connect with each other, with nature, and with our humanist values. Being here together builds our sense of community and kinship with each other. So let us listen to each other's stories with open hearts and open minds over delicious food, as our ancestors have done for millennia. And let us remember that we have this one beautiful life, and today we're here to celebrate it. All right. Our presidential address from Steve Giacottis. Joel, are you coming up to do
Actually,
this?
now Vice President today.
Vice President, okay.
So, for my address today, it's going to be kind of a little bit of a continuation from my talk that I gave way back when I became president the first time. So a little bit of a history lesson, basically. So we're kind of coming up with, every year we try and come up with a theme for the year. And we kind of talked about inclusion being this year's theme, and the importance of it because of the world around us. And kind of wanted to take this time to talk about the vision. I know we talked about it. We talk about it in our board meetings a lot. I talked with you individually in the past. I talked with you about what we're trying to build here, what we're trying to do. And I've always been influenced by examples from history to inform communities like the one we're trying to build here. Usually when we think about history, most people, when you talk about humanist history, they go, oh yeah, Renaissance Italy, that's where it's at. Or like China. There were a lot of humanist Confucians way back in classic China. But today, I want to bring a more homegrown, very influential example that I don't think gets enough recognition in our society. I mean, anybody who's gone through an American high school has probably studied the Harlem Renaissance, right? But how many of you know that the humanists played a huge role in that movement? We have, for instance, reaching back to probably one of the founding freethinkers of, black free thought, Frederick Douglass. I mean, most people know Frederick Douglass, but did you know that he was pen pals with basically the Richard Dawkins of the day over in Germany, Feuerbach? I mean, I don't think Richard Dawkins actually has an original thought because Feuerbach did it like 200 years ago. And then, fast forward a little bit to, the actual Harlem Renaissance influenced by, I forgot to mention famous freethinker, agnostic, great agnostic, I'm blanking on his name, but he was friends with Frederick Douglass. He kind of informed their philosophy, and they kind of informed their struggle for justice, having those two focuses. Fast forward to New York, to Harlem, in the early part of the last century. People like James Baldwin, Zora Neale Thurston, these were influential figures. I mean, we always think we frequently think about like the religious figures who, informed that movement. But there was doubt, there was real doubt that they struggled with in that community to come up with, the music and the art and everything that they were doing at that time. And those people later on, fast forward even further, you get groups like, this might be more informative for the days that we're living in, but the Black Panthers. They had quite a bit of, most people know them for like the radical, Black nationalism. But there were quite a few of the founders of that movement who were more humanistic in their bent. And, if you look at their actual programming, what they did, very similar to some of the stuff that we're trying to do here. Their free breakfast for children, their educational programming, free health clinics. Like, if this sounds familiar, it's because we've all, part of what we're trying to do here is something that many groups throughout history have tried to do. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize that we continue a proud tradition, a very American tradition of humanist thought in these trying times. All right, now I would like to welcome one of our board members, John Clum, the host, back up to the stage.
I'm Galactic Scout 141425, submitting my contact report.
Galactic Scout 14152965, what is your report?
They're made out of meat.
Meat?
Meat. They're made out of meat.
Meat?
There's no doubt about it. We picked up several of them with our recon vessels and probed them all the way through. They're completely neat.
That's impossible. What about the radio signals? The messages to the stars?
Well, they use the radio waves to talk, but the signals don't come from them. The signals come from machines.
So, who made the machines? That's what we want to contact.
Yeah, well, they made the machines. The meat made the machines.
That's ridiculous. How can the meat make a machine? You are asking me to believe in sentient meat?
Well, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. These creatures are the only sentient race in the entire sector, and they're made out of meat.
Maybe they're like your Foley. Carbon-based intelligence that goes through a meat stage?
Well, no, they're born meat and they die meat. We studied them through several of their lifespan, which don't take very long. Do you have any idea of the lifespan of meat?
Spare me, okay? Maybe they're only part meat, like the medulla. A meathead, electronic plasma brain inside.
Well, yeah, we did think of that. And they do have a meat head, so, we thought, okay, they have a meat head. But, like I said, we probed them all the way through. They're entirely meat.
No brain?
Oh, yeah. There's a brain, all right, but it's a brain made out of meat.
So what does the thinking then?
Okay, hold on a second. Yeah, you're not understanding here. The meat brain does the thinking. The meat does the thinking.
Thinking meat. You are asking me to believe in thinking meat?
Yeah. Thinking meat, conscious meat, loving meat, dreaming meat. The meat's the whole deal.
Oh my gosh, you're serious then? They're made of meat?
Finally, yes, they're made out of meat. And they've been trying to get in touch with us for 100 of their years.
So, what does the, meat have in mind?
Well, first, let me see here. First, it wants to contact us and exchange information and say hello and learn some science and, you know, the usual.
We're supposed to talk and eat.
Well, yeah, that's the idea. That's what they're sending on their radio signals. Hello? Anyone out there? Hello?
They actually do talk then. They use words, ideas, concepts.
Yeah, but they do so with me.
I thought you just told me they used radio.
Well, sure. But what do you think is on the radio? Meat sounds. They make meat sounds by slapping or clapping their meat together. and they can even sing by squirting air through their meat.
Oh my God, singing meat. This is altogether too much. So what do you advise?
Officially or unofficially?
Both.
Okay, well, officially, we are required by galactic law to contact, welcome, and log any sentient races in the sector without fear, prejudice, or bias. Unofficially, I advise we erase the records and forget the whole thing.
I was hoping you would say that.
It seems harsh, but I mean, there's a limit. Are we gonna contact me?
I agree 100%. What's there to say? Hello, Meat. How's it going? Well, will this work? How many planets are we dealing with here?
Oh, that's the good part. Just one planet, and they can travel to other planets in their little, like these little meat cans. But because they're completely made out of meat, they can only travel through sea space, and so that means they're limited to the speed of light. And really, there's no hope that they're going to contact anyone else.
So, we just pretend there's no one home.
That's it.
Cruel, but you said it yourself. Who wants to eat meat? And the ones who have been aboard our vessel, the ones you have probed, you're sure they won't remember?
They won't remember because we were able to probe them, and they'll be considered crackpots by anyone else. In fact, even they themselves, we were able to go in and smooth out their meat. So we'll only be a dream to them.
Aha, a dream to meet. How strangely appropriate that we should be meat's dream.
And we can mark this entire sector unoccupied.
Good, agreed. Officially, unofficially. Case closed. Any others? Anyone interesting on that side of the galaxy?
There's a rather shy but sweet hydrogen core intelligence in a class 9 G445 star. It was in contact a couple galactic rotations ago and wants to be friendly again.
They always come around.
And why not? Imagine how horribly, viciously cruel and distant the galaxy would be if there was no one else here and we were completely alone. Submitting my report. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm the acting president right now, but I am but a cog in the machine. Our whole board works together to make this machine and engine run. So, for the reading today, it's a very important month this month, and there's certain people that are trying to prevent this month from happening. Not the month itself, but some of the celebrations that are happening during the month. So I thought I'd pick a reading from someone who focuses on February being Black History Month. So I just wanted to do a reading that reflects that idea. So this is by James Weldon Johnson. My heart be brave, and do not falter so, nor utter more that deep despairing wail. Thy way is very dark and drear, I know, but do not let thy strength and courage fail. For certain as the raven-winged night is followed by the bright and blushing morn, Thy coming morrow will be clear and bright. 'Tis darkest when the night is furthest warm. Look up and out beyond surrounding clouds, and do not in thine own gross darkness grope. Rise up and casting off thy hiding shrouds, cling thou to this and ever-inspiring hope. Though thick the battle and though fierce the fight, there is no power making for the right.
We have a good assembly today. So, I'm going to do our moment of wonder today, and I want to tell you that this moment of wonder is brought to you by the letters D, I, and A. I'm going to talk about the Detroit Institute of Arts. So a moment of wonder is just a chance to dig into something that we're curious about and do a little exploration. So we've done a little exploration at the DIA. Recently, we just held a scavenger hunt to get acquainted or reacquainted with the museum. And it was really successful. It was a lot of fun. We had, I think, 23 people were there. About half of them were people that we know regularly from meeting here, and about half of them were new. And I think we have some of them, some new visitors here with us today that we met at the museum. So thank you guys for coming out. What's so great about a museum? I mean, I think a museum is to artistic achievement what the Olympics are to sports. It's a place to showcase the best that humanity has to offer. It's the perfect place to explore and to learn. And we have a great museum. Oh yes, this is our group from our scavenger hunt that we had last week. A lot of people there, it was really great. So there's something for everybody in talking about the DIA. There's something for history lovers, for art lovers, for number lovers. It all comes together in the DIA. For art lovers, there are over 100 galleries of artwork produced by some of the greatest artists of their time. Whatever you might be interested in, there is probably a good representation of it at our local museum. Islamic art, Egyptian, Chinese, that's a whole list. That's just a partial list of what they have there. The greatest artists are on display. We have Monet, we have, I don't know how to say it, Seurat, Picasso, Van Gogh, Rodin. I think half of the Ninja Turtles are represented at the museum. We've got, jumped ahead. We've got the Diego murals, which are fabulous, they're world famous. We've got everything. We have a painting. This is done by the artist who did President Obama's official portrait that is hanging wherever presidential portraits hang. And we've got him represented at our museum. There is just a lot there. So that's what we have for art lovers. For history and culture lovers, oops, I jumped ahead. For history and culture lovers, the oldest pieces that I found at the museum go back to 2500 BC. 4,500 years ago, 4,000 miles at the museum. How long ago is 4,500 years ago? This is fun to think about. You think about Cleopatra on the Nile. She's closer to now than when art from 4,500 years ago was created. That's a long time in people. We're just made out of meat. That's a lot of generations. There are Egyptian, Roman, Medici, Byzantine, medieval, stuff from French kings, so many cultures from around the world. There's even like a piece of castle that they bought from a castle in France and built into the museum. You could go take selfies in it. It's really, really cool. A brief history of the museum. It was founded in 1881 by James Scripps, who was a rich newspaper guy. Newspaper guys used to be rich. I don't know, maybe they still are. And he popularized art through his travels and writings. And he and a bunch of his friends, including Hiram Walker, who makes Canadian Club whiskey over in Canada, pooled their money together to start the Detroit Art Museum. These were rich guys who thought, Detroit needs an art museum. In 1919, excuse me, we'll leave it right there, that's a good slide. In 1919, they gave this art museum that they started, funded, and contributed artwork to, they gave it to the city of Detroit as a gift. What became owned by the city of Detroit in 1919. In 1922, the DIA became the first American museum to buy a Van Gogh, right? Like that was pretty forward thinking. Van Gogh incidentally died in 1890, so only 30 years before. And he put the starving artist, like people weren't buying his stuff. That was like his whole complaint. And the DIA had the forethought to buy his art. In 1927, Detroit was in its gilded age. It was the fourth largest city in the United States. It rivaled New York City and it rivaled Chicago as like the most premier and opulent city in the United States. And in that time is when the museum that we now know was built in 1927. This was like prime opulent time. It's beautiful. This place is gorgeous. In 1932, Diego Rivera came into town and spent a year here working on his masterpieces inside the museum. In 1975, the museum went broke. Yep. They actually had to close it. It was closed for a month, so they got some money to pay staff again. In 1990, it went broke again. Like, can you take that there's a great museum for granted? Apparently not, because it goes broke every once in a while. In 2014, the whole city of Detroit went bankrupt, and people at the city owed, I think, $80 billion. And the people who it owed the money to wanted their money, and they were eyeing the artwork in the DIA as like, well, we're gonna take this to auction. They were gonna auction off the DIA. Some brilliant people got out of that. They created the Grand Bargain. That was in 2014. That was a scary time in the museum. In 2024, it was ranked as one of the top 6 art collections in the United States. Top 6, and we just have it right here. And and right now, the USA Today is the voter's choice best museum in the USA. And actually, if you go on the USA Today website, you can vote for it for 2025 if you want to. It's in second place right now. I voted for it. For the numbers lovers, I have some cool numbers for you. There are 65,000 pieces of art in the DIA. Or maybe some of it's in a secret warehouse. That's possible. But the DIA owns 65,000 pieces of art. It is 658,000 square feet. It is huge. That is the size of 6 Home Depots. So you can really, you can get lost in that place. In 2014, when it was about to be auctioned off, they had to call in like Christie's and Sotheby's and all the New York auction houses had to come and value how much they could sell this artwork for. So in 2014, the value of the artwork was estimated to be between $4.5 to $8 billion worth of art. And in 2024 dollars, that is basically $6 to $11 billion. And you can just, you can get dangerously close to that stuff. It's just amazing to me that they trust people that much with $10 billion worth of artwork. Interestingly, Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne County, people who live there, they pay property tax now. That's how the museum is funded, or a great portion of its funding is through property taxes. Every $100,000 of property tax value, every year you're sending $10 to the museum. So you are all, or most of us, are all contributing to the museum every month. And this is why you get to go there, and they don't even charge you to go to the museum because you're paying for your property taxes every year. Hopefully this means the museum won't go broke again. The 2 most valuable works of art, that's always a cool number. The most valuable work of art is this one. I don't know if you haven't seen that there. It's very colorful and bright. It's on the first floor. This is called The Wedding Dance by Bruegel. I'm probably not saying his name right. Estimated to be worth $260 million. $260 million, that right there. If anybody's got a plan on how we can get it out of there, let's talk. I would love to go down for an archive. The next most expensive piece of art they have there is the original Van Gogh that they bought. And this is estimated, this is his self-portrait, or one of his many self-portraits, worth about $195 million if you were to try to buy something like that today. $195 million. So these are just the cool facts right there. You commit it to memory, and you can be a museum nerd. Kill any conversation at a party with all your facts that you have. But they're good facts, they're cool. And we'll end it with this great photo of all of us who were there 2 weeks ago to go searching through the museum. My conclusion for you is that the museum really is wonder-worthy, and you're already paying for your ticket to go. You should go down, you should see this, it is a treasure chest of the best that people have created over thousands of years. You're paying for it, you should go. It's a great place for a day. Like Valentine's Day is on Friday, and coincidentally, the museum is open till 9 p.m. on Friday nights. They have a great little place to have a cocktail or a beer down inside there at President Court's, the coolest bar in town. And the last takeaway, the museum was started by rich guys with money who thought that they would share their art and their wealth with all of us. Like, I couldn't afford, I don't have friends that have art like that. I would never see any of that stuff if they hadn't done it. So it's cool to be rich, just don't be a dick with your money. You can be cool with your money, and you can do something like start a museum or a hospital. Like, you can do cool things. So please, everybody, get wealthy and do great stuff. Like, let's pay it all back. And so, I just want to say, if you haven't been to the museum for a while, you should go to the museum. Thank you very much. And now, I would like to introduce Mel. How do I say your last name?
Lucier. That's beside the trucks.
Mel Lucier.
Yeah, Lucier.
Okay, is that French Canadian?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Come on and take the stage. We're really glad to have you. Thank you very much.
Now, as a Canadian, I have two things to say before we start. I'm from Windsor, Ontario, where Hiram Walker's is. Now, Hiram Walker's is close to my house. You can do whiskey tours, and there is such a term as whiskey tears. But he did give back to the community, and he built a whole neighborhood called Walkerville. And if you are a fan of architecture or civil neighborhood planning, there are mansions near the factory, and he built housing for the workers, and it's amazing to see. And we do have 10 kilometers of uninterrupted waterfront land from the Ambassador Bridge to Hiram Walker's, and there's sculpture gardens. It's not commercialized. There's one restaurant if you need to stop and have a beverage, somewhere in there. We have the largest Canadian flag on display for our American neighbors. And we do have a large banner now that says Canada's not for sale. And I'm a comedian from Windsor, Ontario, and I'm going to stay stationary because if I take the mic, then that costs $400 an hour, and I swear a lot. So I'm going to stay stationary. And when it came to your aliens landing, I just thought of the joke that says, "Take me to your leader." And in light of your political situation, yes, I'll take you to your leader, but you must take him back with you. That's all I'm saying. And I've spoken many times, but generally I'm hired to speak on a theme. So I've done violence against women, and I've done women's rights. I've done gay rights, I've done a lot of things. So it was hard for me to compile today to speak to a general assembly. But I think anybody who's here has a struggle, and we find sanctity in each other, and we find sanctity in a church setting, I think humanist. So I'm going to kind of go back to just living authentically and living with humanity is kind of what I'm going to go back to. So obviously there's a joke in here, and I've worked with Steve many times in circles of just being kind to people. So thank you for taking a chance on me, because you have been to my shows, so. I'm quite unhinged, but today I'm going to speak on how to survive with grace and humor. So yeah, because I'll tell you my story, and then I'll tell you some funny stories of how I actually did survive with grace and humor. So I truly feel like I'm successful in life. And what is success? And sometimes it's jumping from failure to failure with enthusiasm, right? I'm a comedian, I'm a speaker, I'm an employee with the federal government in Canada. I have a retirement date. I do, June 12, 2028. I am involved in Windsor Essex Pride Fest. I ran my local PFLAG chapter. I sat on many boards. I ran Trans Wellness Ontario, which is the only transgender organization in Canada that had charitable status. I ran that. I was on the City of Windsor Diversity Committee. I sat on boards for first-generation Canadian committees because I don't think we treat our immigrants fairly, and I hate that word even, especially in Canada. I do national union work. I'm a mother, a human. I'm a happy human, very rare in today's society. My life has truly surpassed my wildest dreams, and I say that with all sincerity. Here's my backstory. The human in front of you wasn't always such a hot mess. I was much messier, hotter, probably never. I like my life, so I've been on my own since I was 15. I had an absent father. He died when I was 12, and I had an addicted, mentally ill mother. A perfect storm for a life full of struggles. I was raised by my grandparents who didn't fully understand addiction. They were very just simple, uneducated in a nice way. I don't say that out of ignorance, I say it out of respect. They enabled my mother to be addicted and have her own struggles, right? But part of this enabling was raising my brother and I. And we both, he's a retired police sergeant, and I have a career with the federal government. They did an amazing job considering, and I may date myself as to how old I am, and some people may get the joke, and some people may have to Google it when you get home. Imagine being raised by Edith and Archie Bunker, if anybody understands that, holding down the fort with addiction in the house and two very angry, abandoned teenagers. And they did just fine. They tried to always have grace and humor in life. Maybe they didn't know any different, and I appreciate that, right? They praised and lived a very hard work ethic. One was in the hospital and one was in the forts, right? One had a grade 7 education. And every time he got laid off from the forts, he went and got another ticket. Small machine repair, large machine repair, till one died. My grandmother ran the kitchen in the hospital. They promoted education. I dropped out of high school, I went to adult learning. I enrolled in university, I dropped out. Enrolled in college and graduated 7 years later with a husband and 2 children. I just kept pushing through. I worked part-time retail, Toys R Us, God. I parented, I advocated for my mother. Advocated out of human dignity. She didn't deserve her role as mother, but she deserved dignity. That's how I approached that. I lived a life expected of me for over half my life. No regrets, because it robs you of the life lessons you have to learn if you live with regrets. Some tattoos are cover-ups, that's regret I'm willing to accept. I think as a wife and a low-income learner, it keeps people in submission. You're too distracted for introspection, you're too distracted to learn because you're busy taking care of everybody else and just paying the bills as they come due if you can, right? Then boom, my mother passed away, I got a little bit of money so I could breathe. I got a good career with the federal government. I could exhale, I got a divorce, single mom, I was gay, boom, life was starting to fall into place. When I realized, I'm gonna swear a little bit, is everybody okay with that? Okay. When I realized my parents were just fucked up individuals on their own, my healing began. We seem to put them on pedestals, and they're not allowed to make mistakes. But when we realize they're just humans who absolutely did the best they can, and we're individuals on our own, then we get to heal and become who we are. I had my own mistakes. I didn't exactly know who I was, I just started to remove who I didn't want to be, right? I quit gambling, I quit smoking, I focused on how much easier life was when I lived by my rules. I had weight loss surgery, I set boundaries. So hard with people, other people in my life, I set boundaries for them. Now, when you're raised marginalized, you don't know how to do that, and I'll speak to that later. People expected more out of me than I had, and I had to protect myself. But we're just givers. When you're raised in addiction, you're just giving everybody else's expectations. And through therapy and many, many, many learning processes, thank God for government-free therapy. Free, whatever you get what you can, but at least somebody was there to listen, right? I came to be and realized I can only be in charge of me and my kids, my decisions, my directions in life, because I and only I own the outcome at the end of the day. I truly believe life puts you exactly where you need to be, when you need to be there, and I've learned to pivot with grace. If life delays you an hour because something happens, are you gonna sit and pout, or are you gonna do the dishes and put the laundry away? And that really means a lot, because there's a lot of stuff to do, and life changes quickly. I've learned that life is a learning process, and we don't get to start with all the skills we need. I never say no to an opportunity that's good learning, like this. Do I really belong here? Yes. Because life opened up the opportunity for me to do it, and I get to learn something about you, about me, about what I'm able to do, or what my story looks like and what I'm able to share. And if anybody gets anything out of it today, that's amazing. So many times we judge people on the decisions they make, not ever seeing the choices they had. And this is when I speak to abused women, or I speak to people who take care of abused women. We are such victim blamers. Well, she should have known better. You never saw the choices she had made, right? She did the absolute best she can. So I wrote this for today. You're just gonna have little blurbs of my life, right? So I wrote this for, because he was like, what are you gonna speak on? I go, on. And I had some iron infusions last week, so I have to try hard as I'm not nervous. And this is the easiest thing to do. I threw in some topics, so then I thought, well, I know I can break this shit. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to save you. Let that sink in. Did that terrify you or release you from external expectations to fix everything now? Instead of just living in it. Really, is your shit that uncomfortable? Like, I fully comprehend that some of life situations need to be fixed immediately. I comprehend that. Like the steaming pile of dog shit in the middle of the dining room. My life sometimes. You know why? Because I ignored the dog. Or the screaming child who needs to be consoled right now. We had that conversation earlier, didn't we? In those moments of panic, I use general ones, and I know life gets more difficult than that, but we can all identify that when we're stressed out, the screaming child and the pile of dog poo can be the spilled milk and can be a really difficult moment we need to get through. We can lose it at that moment because of that. I'm sure we've all had much larger ones, and so many moments don't afford us time to analyze and breathe, and we'll lose it. But we need to take a minute to live in the discomfort sometimes and see if there really is a fix to where we're at. Like, can I put the dog out? Can I get up 5 minutes earlier? Does the child need more mom? Is he crying because he's tired? Is he crying because he needs mom? Like there's a fix instead of me just brushing everything off and living the same day every day. We need to take a minute to live in the discomfort. I always see so many unhappy people bitching and moaning about a reality they created most of the time. People live in lives that work for them, and I say that all the time because bitching is a whole lot easier than fixing. And sometimes you have to live in the discomfort and you kind of lube it up and do the best you can. Because I have a child with autism, and you just learn to adopt and love. We have parents with dementia. We have health issues. And we surrender and adapt. I'm not saying those are situations that we can fix. But the ones we can, we need to learn how to do that with grace and make room in our life to be able to deal with the ones that need our attention. We need to deal with that with love and kindness. We need to deal with the bullshit, right? Like the jumping from one failure to another with grace. It's not my quote, but I think it's funny. Because so many times we attempt to do things in life and it doesn't work out, we hate ourselves for it. That's not the life lesson. The life lesson is trying it and go, oops, that didn't work out as planned. That's going to be on my tombstone one day, that's all. That didn't turn out as planned, right? Here we look deeper, why the dogs? Next time I want to bitch about something, is it in my control? Will it pass? And it doesn't even matter in the grand scheme of life. Like I used to say, will this matter in 24 hours when my anxiety kicks in, or the dishwasher breaks. It used to be anything under $100, I'm not gonna panic about it, now it's under $500. Really, you know what I mean? Can I pay a loan, can I whatever, can I serve at Starbucks, it doesn't matter. And when it doesn't work, I don't want someone swooping in to fucking save me either. Right? Because then you take away my power. I prefer my own messes. So when I hear no one's coming to save me, I find it exhilarating, really. I roll up my proverbial sleeves, I get to the bottom of what works for me, and I keep track of what works for me and what brings me joy, and I just do it. And whatever discomfort there is, hopefully the rest of my life I've created enough joy that it balances out, right? That's kind of where I wrote that piece, right? And self-care, do we all really adopt self-care for ourselves? Because you're all here because, like he said, providing school breakfast and taking care of people, you're all here because you advocate. You go out into the world and you see injustice and you come here. And then you meet and you plan on how to go back in the world and see injustice and take care of it. That's why you're here. I identify that, I feel it, because I'm the same. You need to work. however other group I can join to make a difference. How many of us really even understand what self-care is? And I can tell you from experience what it's not. It's not listening to Jagged Little Pill 27 times on repeat, screaming out, I'm broke but I'm happy, I'm poor but I'm kind, I'm short but I'm healthy, yeah. I'm high but I'm grounded, I'm sane but I'm overwhelmed, I'm lost but I'm hopeful, right? And when it all comes down to is that everything's gonna be fine, because I've got one hand in my pocket, and the other one's in my high five. Well, I can tell you the other hand's not giving me a high five, because that's just not too nice, but. And all I really want is some patience, a way to calm the angry voice, and all I really want is deliverance. Now, Alanis Morissette's a genius, just saying. And I'm not ashamed to admit how emotional it was to listen to Alanis Morissette with these ears that survived and look back on that young girl that survived on angst and rebellion. Now, we all have that music we listen to when we run, when we're angry, when we cleanse our soul. We all have that. Alanis Morissette's mom. Self-care is not eating 3 rows of double-stuffed Oreos until you figure out that package floats in the tub, you guys. It does. The truth is, no one survived their childhood unscathed. And if you did, you need therapy because you didn't. Right? Self-care might be tattooing you, but I'm a little biased. Self-care might be scheduling your breakdown because you don't have time. Self-care might be buying expensive chicken nuggets because they fucking taste better. Now in Canada, we call them Jane's chicken nuggets. I don't know what your brand is over here. So I Googled it and then it said there was like $1,000 chicken nugget at Ramsey's, I don't know. But instead of the note, that's self-care. Self-care, you know, self-care, all the moms out here listen to this. Self-care is ordering pizza and eating no man's land. Do you know what no man's land is? I have one kid that won't eat an onion and one kid that won't eat a mushroom. Do you know what no man's land is? That fucking strip in the middle where they touch and nobody will eat it. Do you know who eats that? Me. That's self-care. So there's no fist fights in my house because my daughters are as passionate as me, and it will be a fist fight if there's an onion on a piece or a mushroom on a piece. That's what self-care is for moms, because something overlaps. Self-care is not a candle in a bubble bath. It's not, because I'm just too tired. I have stuff to do. Self-care is maybe when you have your shit together, that's self-care. Self-care is mammograms and pap smears. My daughter booked mother-daughter paps. Right? She has autism. I love that. We did have mother-daughter COVID shots too. Self-care is booking a dishwasher repair, and it took me 4 weeks to make one phone call. And you know what the fucking story is? My warranty was expired by the time I made the call. So yeah, so now I have to do dishes. At the end of the day, self-care is caring enough about yourself to love yourself and accept your beauty, laugh, cry, and be unhinged enough to scare a few people on the way. That's what self-care is, right? But no man's land, remember that, because that's really what it is. And how is everybody doing today, and how many of you just answered fine? Right? When did that become okay? When's the last time you checked in with yourself? And what does fine even mean? Does it mean feelings inside not expressed? Or in mind, does it mean frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotional? Or freaked out, insignificant, numb, and exhausted? What level on the fine scale are you? Right? Or did you just not care enough to check in? Or did you just not even answer me because you're on your phone? That would be me. I'm like, oh, did you say something? I didn't even. Did you ever just wish, because I'm a comedian, don't forget. Did you ever just wish you could wear your mood on your shirt? Well, this was an accident. Some of us have been accused of having rusty bitch face, or even worse, a friendly talk to me face. What about this face makes me look like I want to hear it every day? But I'm just teasing, because people, I talk to people all the time. Like, I can't get off a plane or a train because I used to travel a lot for uni work and like talk to everybody, and whoever's there to pick me up was like, oh, you know that? And I go, no, but I do now. Yeah, because we talked for an hour. Or better yet, we could just wear a necklace of meds, right? You know, of all our medications, and some understand no pill shaming here. It's the only reason my kids survived, because I, don't pill shame. And can you imagine in a difficult situation where someone looks, at your empty necklace and just knows you're at the end of your dose for the day, just smile and say, try me, big guy, go ahead. They see the empty string. Like, I just got all my meds for the day. You wanna? Right? Or even better yet, when you go to Starbucks, make direct eye contact. When you're ordering, and lift your necklace up and just bite a ring. It'll be the best drink you ever got. It will, I swear. And I think we need to make a pledge now that FINE stands for Fantastic Inspired Natural Empresses and Emperors. And we own ourselves, and even if we're a hot mess, if it's okay that day, right? Because FINE is just like nobody fucking cares is what FINE means. Oh, I'm fine. Oh, somebody says that and I just like cringe. Right, like I said, I have a daughter with autism. And what I learned from her, she's 30 now and she's amazing. And as a parent, it's a difficult journey to surrender to parenthood to begin with. And there's somebody that's pregnant. It's a wonderful journey, but you surrender as a woman to just being a parent. You surrender to caring for another human being. And surrender in a good way. Like, I don't speak anything here negative. My experience is not negative. And as a single parent, it's harder. Because you're like friend, mother, everything. Dad. Sorry. As a single parent of a child who has diverse needs, it can be especially challenging. But my daughter has taught me more grace and humor in life than I thought was ever possible. It's just magic where you meet people where they are, right? Here's a few funny stories of our journey together, and she's 30 and we share a home because I'm a hotter mess than she is. First of all, she's one of my favorite humans, and she has more kindness and grace for the world. Like, she practices Buddhism, and she just is magic. She's an amazing artist, and I was going through an especially ugly divorce. Not that any of them are fun, right? I had 2 houses full of furniture in one house, right? And the dogs were chasing each other, and I'm in my room being especially cranky that day. And it was late, and I probably had work early, and I probably just was at my limit. I ate all my pills that day off my necklace. And it was a big crash. And she came to my room and she goes, the dogs broke a lamp. And I'm like, what fucking lamp? Right? I lost it. And she goes, it's dark. And did a little dance. And made me laugh. Because she didn't own my mood. She didn't own it, and she made me smile. And I said, you're right, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Because it didn't work. And she made me laugh. And you could make anybody laugh, you should win, right? There's got to be some mental health going right there. All of a sudden I hear, she's just pretty cool. My other favorite story is we went for MRIs together, and I a lot of times helicopter mom her because I worry about her autism. She functions better than me. She really does. So I go in for my MRI. And I'm like, it's really loud, all the headphones, I do all this packed. Now, your healthcare is different than ours. Ours is free, if you can wait 6 months, there's 100 people, and it's like traumatic, right? So there's a packed waiting room, probably 100 people, screaming baby, blah, blah, blah. So I get my MRI and I come out, and she goes in for hers, she comes out 12 minutes later, and I go, oh my God, you didn't do it? Like, I'm panicking. She goes, of course I did it. And I go, but it's loud. She goes, I fucking live with you. It was a vacation. Like, everybody laughed. That was her story. Yeah, that's my daughter. So when and I met her where she's at, and she's glorious. So, and my story can tell you how I grew up very poor. But when you grow up very poor in a poor neighborhood with poor kids at a poor school, you don't know you're poor. I grew up so poor, none of us knew any different. And as life progressed, I've learned that some people have lived different lives and have different stories, but that's okay. Did you guys know that towels don't have holes in them? Right? I just thought they were the handiest thing ever drying off kids, if they have handles. I didn't know. And I still have a drawer full of rags, paper towels. I can still hear my grandparents say, who buys stuff to throw away? Right? I do have them now, and I feel rich, and that's when Rexall, we have a drugstore called Rexall, we're probably really like your CVS, where you get really good points. So if you spend $50, you get $10 back, and I'm like, yeah, I still don't need paper towels, but I have them. But I use them sparingly. When the towels get to a bully, they graduate to a rag drawer. And my daughter, who's 30, was talking to my friend about her favorite spoon, autism, her favorite spoon. Her friend's a pharmacist in a hospital. Her friend Laura said, what do you mean you have a favorite spoon? Don't they all match? What? What do you mean they all match? I guess when you're rich, your cutlery matches. Now I'm Canadian. Some might say via rail, which is your rail system, your Amtrak. Yeah, mine say Amtrak or Marriott or Fairmont or wherever I stole them from in my travels. Some of my towels say Fairmont. I don't, but this was like my daughter comes running out, I got the funniest story to tell you. Aha moment at 30, that cutlery matches. So funny. And I grew up so poor, this is a funny joke, that the recent Olympics had a few events from my childhood, like they were swimming with duties in the pond. Like in the Olympics there was like poo, and I'm like, yeah, we did that too. It was called swimming in the creek when I was a kid, but that's an Olympic event now, I don't know. And the breakdancing was just a bad trip at Kenny's house, I don't understand why. But I was so poor that every color and nationality got along. That's how poor we were. I didn't care what Anyaka was having for dinner. If she asked me if I wanted to come over for dinner, I just said yes. That's how hungry we were, right? Do you want to come for dinner? Yes. There was never like, what are you having? Yes. Right? And I thank God for Anyaka's mom for the jollof rice and pounded yam. I have the best palate in the world. We all do. That's how poor we were. Everybody ate at everybody's house and everybody got along. And I don't know what money has done to people, that different colors don't like each other and we can't get along. It's a weird world that, because you have money now. I don't know, rice is rice. I don't know. Do you know that you can eat pumpkins and they're delicious? And I don't know why they're only available once a year at Halloween, and we cut them and put them on display. We could eat them all the time, right? And I'm going to talk about how to make a difference. And I'm going to use some buzzwords that you guys used earlier, and it was really weird. In mine, you got to be kind, and this to me encompasses being generous and helpful, not judgmental, and not putting stipulations on your time and effort. You can have this food or money, but you must believe in my God. I don't think you guys are like that. I hope that. You can beat me up in a parking lot. I have a blue Camaro. That's a lie, but whatever. That's a common example, but we see people do it all the time. Poverty porn. Look at me giving somebody food. Don't do that. So many people are suffering. We don't need a picture of you helping them. You can. I get it, because we want to promote the goodness your organization does. But, you know, we don't have to convert everybody to Catholicism in order for them to have grace. Maybe when you're kind, without judgment, they'll love your God. Wow. How about doing it backwards? Meeting people where they are, helping them, not always rescuing them, and providing them with the resources and directions to solve their own situation might help, when they ask for it. People in Canada have to wait 2 months to get into rehab, and guess what? They're dying. So I don't know what your system is like over here, but it might be close. When I walk downtown Windsor and I see people suffering from substance misuse and housing inequalities, but of all the stares of disgust from others, I'm heartbroken, and all I can say is that as a society, we need to be kinder to people. We just need to be kind to them. There is not one solution to end human suffering, but I'm sure a warm, safe place to rest and a meal would help, right? I'm sure that would do a lot if they had an address and a sandwich. I was walking in downtown Windsor once, and I'm gonna, go adrift, and I had dress pants on and a work uniform in my federal government, and it was homeless people 200 feet away from me, and some people with a Bible asked me if I was hungry. I go, do I look hungry to you? And I have a big mouth. Do I look hungry to you, or do I look like I have a checkbook? They're hungry. Help them. We had somebody who does charity work stop at a downtown grocery store and give away $30,000 the other day in $50 gift cards and random stuff. We'd have 4 police cars to do crowd control because there was so many hungry people lining up for $50 in groceries. And I saw it, and it was an hour's notice on Facebook. I saw it and I lived near it, and I thought it was a cool idea, but I don't need it. But 4 police cars and thousands of people like that for $50 in potatoes. I thought, I hope everybody got help. Be curious. You said that earlier. Someone who's curious is eager to find out the answers and to explore information and learn without judgments or an agenda. Right? To figure out where we came from and why we think the way we do and why we're kind or why we're not or why we're addicted. Because trauma is the gateway to addiction, or humor, either or. Babe, you're funny, I don't think it's trauma. Yeah, right? But trauma is the gateway to addiction. When we see somebody at 16, 17, 18 getting high. We failed them at 9, 10, 11, 12. There was a kid that didn't get what they needed. They don't decide. Nobody ever decides that, oh, I think I'd love to be an addict. Nobody decides that. They just start accepting less and less for themselves, right? We all know the current state of the media, and any belief can be validated whether correct with a simple Google search. But being curious guarantees your approach to things with a clear state and the desire to understand on a basic intrinsic human level. To have a conversation with somebody. When I speak in Ottawa, when I speak to unions, I'm going to stop and I'm going to have a conversation with somebody in the corner, and then I lecture all these wonderful government people with big jobs. And I go, did anybody talk to Susie on the corner today? Did you give her money? Do you know her story? Or did you walk right past her, right? You're all like, But being curious guarantees you approach things, clear state and a desire to understand. Being curious is linked with a greater ability to cope with and handle difficult situations. Because we're not owning it, we're not passing judgment, right? Compassionate, showing people genuine feelings of sympathy and empathy for their situation. Not blaming them for life. Sometimes shit just happens to nice people. It does. Especially with the cost of food and rent and people having to choose now between insulin. Right? Food deserts in Detroit. So you have to go to the dollar store and buy spicy Cheetos, not a quote. Not that that's my favorite, but... And sometimes people's choices do not align with the best outcomes, but we judge them on their choice instead of their options, right? Sometimes we just need to trudge forward. Having someone on your side with compassion will save a life. And sorry, I'm going to say this, you guys, I can't think of a better word. Anybody can email me later. You have to be cunty. And I couldn't think of anything else fitting. I'm a comedian and a rough around the edges comedian, so to me the C word entails putting yourself first, which is if you're raised marginalized, you're always last. You advocate, you put the addict first, you put the abuser first, because you're afraid of their anger and wrath. You're afraid of being ostracized for putting yourself first, because you're afraid. You just need to learn to be a fierce mama bear. Put yourself first. Find a place of safety. Find your voice. Lose the things that control you every day. Smoking, gambling, alcohol, food, sex. Find your ugly hole. Suffer. Climb your way out. I would say when one door closes, another one opens. That dark hallway is ugly. No one tells you that. Healing is ugly. Looking at yourself is ugly. And it's okay. And you know what happens when you find that hallway? There's other ugly, beautiful people there on the same journey, and it's pretty cool. All you can do every day is to get your dishes done, get your children off to school with a lunch. I'm very proud of you. Because that's all you need to do. Even if the lunch is like egg rolls from the night before, not that I've done it 100 times. Do your mass, be a hot mess. Just don't let anything else control you in your journey. Find joy, be you. And this is kind of my last one. Decision fatigue, human fatigue. Do you know humans, we make over 35,000 decisions every day? We speak over 16,000 words, not including swear words. In addition to speaking, we also hear at least 25,000 words a day. Oh my God. That means we spend about 70 to 80% of our time communicating and processing 20,000 times, and we blink an average of 16,000 times. And I prevent my eyes from rolling many times a day because I work many times a day. And that's utterly exhausting to even think of that, and no wonder we're just fine, right? So I'm going to close it on this. This is a story I wrote, and I usually close all my stories on this, and it's called End Scene. Do you ever live your life wishing that someone would yell, End Scene? Calling an end to the ensuing shit show that your life has turned into, and imagine being able to sit and rifle through the script of your life, knowing fully what lies ahead, being able to rehearsing your lines for the difficult moments, and knowing exactly what to say when it happens. Being able to disagree with the direction your character is taking and having the ability to write an alternate ending before it's too late. Instead of life being a constant barrage of plot twists and watching a storyline that would challenge even the most seasoned actor, I must admit there are times when I would love to yell cut to my kids when I'm losing an argument, which doesn't happen a lot. Going to commercial break when I need 2 minutes to gather my thoughts and reel in my temper. My life instead is a live stage production with no ending in sight and a constant challenge of my improv skills, complete with antagonists and heroes and way too many minor characters placed about for distraction. Starbucks. Most days I'm quite happy not knowing what lies ahead, learning as I go, fully participating in the storyline, and not following someone else's script. I turn the pages at my own pace, slow down the moments I want to stay in, choosing my co-stars, and never knowing when the final chapter of life is. I live believing that the final manuscript I write for my life is far better than having the ability to call and seeing. And knowing the chapters of my life are not jammed into a 1-hour episode, and I've created my own freedom in my life. I take my time, make it magically spellbinding. Romantic comedy, cooking, gardening, soft porn, sort of midlife crisis adventure. Rated PG-13 most days, and hopefully coming soon to a theater near you. Now I hope you guys had fun. Steve, thank you for the opportunity. That's it. I hope there's sandwiches because that was half the draw. Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Thanks so much, Mel. That was awesome. So what I'm picking up from what you're saying is don't be a dick, but be a C word.
I think to defend ourselves and be strong, we have to, because there's a lot of people that like their angst and they like to be unhappy. And you know what, I'm 56, and I'm still surprised at the amount of people that are unhappy. You know what, and it took me how long to find joy, right? And people live where they want to be. People live the lives that work for them. And I'm still surprised at the amount of people that just, and I know life's hard. I get it. You're allowed 10 minutes with me at the end of your day. Yeah, and it's not, I don't put a timer on. But you know what? You can empty, you can rest, you can get your own day. A career so we can have a return day, can I say that? And I literally have created an extension of my life where I'm allowed to do this, and I have amazing friends. I took some from Canada with me. I have amazing friends who take your talents and move them forward and be kind to people. And if you're not in the mood to be kind, don't leave the house. For real, because we don't all have good days. But find what your kind of joy is and just live it. And if you are intrinsically unhappy, just avoid them. Set boundaries and say, wow, that sounds awful. Have fun with that. I don't know what your American sayings are, like, good for you. You know what I mean? But yeah, and it's a journey, and never be ashamed of your failures because they're experiences. And I never say sorry, I say thank you. Because when you say sorry, it's kind of some defeat. Oh, I'm sorry, I fucked up. No, I say thank you for waiting. Thank you for learning this process with me. Thank you for whatever. And I've been doing comedy for, I don't know, I've grown up. And somebody came to my show, whatever, 6 years ago, and they come out and they go, you're better now. And I go, that's the point. That's the point. But thank you. But if you never try, nobody, I have a singer with you. Are you the same singer you were 25 years ago?
No, I wasn't even singing.
Right.
I was playing piano, and then I became sick and pivoted.
But you learn your craft and you learn your joy, and comedy is kind of morphed into this because you find your voice, and it's like an evolution. You are never pick up a paintbrush. Don't pick up rollerblades because I'm 3 concussions in. So don't do that. We're trying to look for that, and no. But find what it is, create stuff, and it doesn't have to be pretty to anybody else but you. Whatever your creation is, whatever brings you joy. Because people are exhausting too, so you have to find your outlet. And Oreos do flow.
All right, well, thank you so much. If anyone does have questions for Mel, this
Yeah.
will be the time. So throw your hands up there, and
Yeah.
then we'll bring Marty back up here to finish off.
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever come to talk on this side of the bridge? Do you ever?
I stopped performing over here when Trump came in last time. And then when we crossed this time, I said we were coming to a women's conference. And the guy said, where? And my partner said, I don't know, it's like some place. And we gave the address. He was like, okay. We didn't want to say queer, we didn't want to say church, we didn't want to say, he goes, are you participating? And we were like, I think so. It's a thing, yeah, they really don't. So I would come in with whatever focus, I would write something, whatever. Yeah, because I spoke on even performative suffering, gender-based violence. Performative suffering is like, until we prove that my suffering owns your compassion, abused women, transgender care, any sort of care, until my brink of suicide, they were like, oh, okay, we'll help you. Wow, thanks. Instead of me saying I need help, do you meet our criteria? Weight loss surgery. I went to doctor saying, because I was 400 pounds, I have a food addiction. Do you? Look at me. Yes, I do. But if I said I was alcoholic or a drug addict, it would have been, oh, okay, we have treatment, right? Performative suffering, I spoke on gender-based violence and women's rights and gay rights and lots of stuff. But today I was just spoken on being and having being funny. Funny is, you can disarm anything by being funny. And it's hard to find because it takes trauma, yeah. But no, it takes grace. It takes not taking things personal to make something funny. But I'll speak, I'll come back. Oh, yeah.
Do you think people know that they have that choice? I love your message, but it's always been my sense that people don't know that they have that choice to choose.
I sometimes think if somebody's angry with me and I don't react to them with anger, that you watch them disarm. You know? If you smile back and you treat them kind, they immediately disarm. Because they say, oh, you're a nice human. Because I've been walking this earth for how many years and everybody's mean. Everybody I've had to leave that day. And I get in the elevator and they and I go, hi, how are you? Whatever, my usual verbal diarrhea. And they're like, hey, yeah. And they respond kindly. So I think being kind makes a big difference. And it's just, and I don't even go out of my way. I'm just that now. And I think generally people respond to kindness and it's just refreshing that they're like, oh, you're a nice human. Because people are in a hurry and have stuff to do, right? Yeah. It is a really hard place to find. I'm 56, so it's been a journey. I was such a bitchy teenager mom. My kids, this is my coming out story, my kids were playing house once. I wasn't a very good wife or mom. And they were like, my youngest daughter crossed her arms, and they were playing house. And I go, what's wrong, baby? Well, I'm the mommy. I have to be angry. And I'm like, oh. Like, my therapist was on speed dial. I knew, and I had a big pool, and I had a nice lake. And I would let them swim whenever, and they said something to me, and the other daughter said, no, you have to let her drink her coffee, read her paper. And I'm like, oh, yeah. There's moments where your children are way smarter than you, but you have to find it. But I think if you respond to people with kindness, I think you can see them drop their armor sometimes. A majority, and I don't take life personal. I don't take people's struggle personal. And I sometimes listen and I don't. And if they're mean, then they're mean people. It's not about me. Life's not about me. It is, but it's hard. It really is a difficult struggle, and sometimes there's tears. And I'm a crier, and my daughters will still say, and I have like 15 points to live authentically. I didn't show you that. So my daughters used to even say when they're little, when I had a good cry, you gotta let the sads out to let the happies, and you have to release that. And I always find in the most safest, happiest points of my life is sometimes where I have random cries. I'm like, what is this? Because it's releasing some of the angst so you can be at peace, right? And a lot of therapy. And I try and walk 10,000 steps a day and drink 40 ounces of water. And I try and sleep, but I'm not a sleeper. And I try and only have people in my life that support and with joy for me. I try that a lot. And there are a lot of times where I spend a lot of times by myself. And that's scary. I learned to like myself, that's the hardest part. Yeah, and if somebody doesn't celebrate me, because I'm a wedding officiant, but not officially, and I was friends with somebody has to marry them first, and then I just do it, and somebody goes, and I'm like, why would they not want to know for sure experience? Like, why would they not want it? I just do, they gotta get married first, and then I do the show. Why would they not want me? So if there's somebody in your life that doesn't celebrate you, and you have to have them in your life, just draw a boundary. Oh, how's that working? No, just draw a boundary where your spirit and your heart is safe. Don't share things that are important to you and bring you passion, because they're just gonna crush you. Talk about the weather or the price of bread. Don't talk about anything that brings you passion or joy, because they're not gonna share it and it's gonna hurt you. And my oldest daughter just celebrates me, and I celebrate her, and we share a home, and I'm grateful for that all the time. She's just spectacular and makes me laugh and brings me joy and makes me crazy some days, but she's pretty cool. And we had to find a place though, right? Yeah. And my youngest daughter's just a hot mess like I am, so yeah. Anything else, you guys? I had a joy today. Thank you for entertaining me in the